In this session of School of Professional Design, we are going to be talking about your reinvention, your revival, your transformation, and how your redesign can be by design. We're going to take your unique gifts and talents and callings and mix those with the desire that you deeply have and show you how to create the life that you want. Because, my friend, it is closer to you than it feels. It's closer to you than you might think. And before we do that, we're going to go into the triggers of what actually causes these massive shifts in momentum where someone gets to access recreation power, new creation power. We'll talk about those two triggers and how you can see them, spot them, and harness them. And then we're going to take you through the entire process from beginning to end, where we are going to be looking at the hero's journey of reinvention and revival. But even thinking about what that term means, it could mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Revival is going to be revive. Re, meaning again, vive, life. We're looking at life again. And if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, and you probably are facing some sort of shift. Maybe your job has shifted. Maybe your family has shifted. Maybe your identity or how you do things has shifted. Maybe your health has shifted. A lot of people, when things shift, they end up quitting because they don't know how to do things in a new way. Instead, they just pack it up and they cash out. So we're looking at how you can do that with your work. Now, I believe, and I hope you do too, that work is not a curse, it's a blessing. Work is not something that we are trying to escape from. It's something that we are connected to. And when you're doing it by your professional design, which is very important to know, click on the link to actually take a free assessment to find your professional design. But when we do it by design, work is joyful. Work creates your abundance, and work connects you with the people that you want to be a blessing to. You're here for a reason, and that exists in your gifts and talents. If you're still here, that means you believe that. So let's look at a couple of the things that are going to trigger moments of recreation, moments of rebirth. There's one type of moment that's going to happen to you. It happens a lot of times by accident, and it can shift everything in life. And then there's one that we can create ourselves. Actually, both of these we can create ourselves, but I want you to look at both of them and see their place in your life. It's light and dark. It is pleasure and pain. Let's talk about darkness. So darkness is a place where you feel alone. You are, there's suffering, there is pain, and it feels like all is lost. I'm going to tell you, you're never alone. You are never alone, and you're always closer than you think. But the reality is that darkness actually, listen, I'm not talking, I understand that depression is real to people. I understand that pain is real. I'm not asking you to ignore those things. Neither am I asking you to perpetuate it. I'm asking you to look at it, to embrace it, to feel it, but realize always you are not alone. Darkness actually allows you to see farther than the light. If you don't believe me, go out in the dark and look up in the sky. What do you see if it's a clear night? You see stars. How far away are those stars? You're seeing galaxies that are billions of miles away. Now, how far can you see if it were daylight? Not as far. We love the vision that comes in the day, but I'm telling you that there's a different type of vision that comes at night. I'm asking you to embrace what's happening. Not stay there, look for a way out, but understand you're not alone, and there's something there. There's an idea there that it's for you, but it's also probably to deliver other people. They say that mother necessity is the mother of all invention. And so if you're in a place of darkness in relationships or in finances or in just your work situation, your health situation, maybe you've lost something, you're in darkness. I understand. I understand. And you're not alone. You're not alone. What I would say, if you can, the very first thing is live, get through it, do whatever it takes to get through it. But after we've gotten past that, we don't want to cope, we want to heal. And healing means we experience all of these things. So I'm actually going to ask you to embrace all of this stuff, because it's when we feel the pain, we also have the capacity to feel passion. We have the ability to feel desire. We have the ability, and this is something I want you to look for, to find someone to serve. It might be really horrible for you right now. Find someone to serve. And if you can, you're going to start seeing in the dark. And I've got to tell you this, darkness is actually a place of creation. Even if your darkness is self-created, maybe you did something to cause it to happen, you're still not alone. It says, I believe in Psalm 139, it says that, Lord, if I were in the darkness is like the noonday to you. If I were to make my bed in the abyss or in hell or in the pit, even there you would find me. God's with you where you're at. And the cool thing is that his creative power is there as well. Don't miss the fellowship of his suffering. It says that Paul was saying at one point that I might know you in the power of your resurrection and the fellowship of your suffering. There is fellowship. The Lord is closer to you in that place. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. So there's something you can get there that you can't get in the fun and exciting place. When you're there, if you're in the dark, you're gonna want to get out of this pain. Look for your desire, not your hatred. A lot of people in the darkness, they get sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they create something that is overly structured. It's overly self-punishing, and it's not necessary. It's not necessary. So find desire. Now, there's this whole other side of moment that creates momentum, that can create explosion into your next chapter, into something where the new creation is better than the old creation. And that we don't have to always run into the darkness where some tragedy forces us into something powerful. We can do this in the place of light. And the place of light means you're looking for what you love. You're looking for opportunity. So darkness can force us to change. Difficulty, loss, and tragedy can bring an immediate change. Opportunity can as well, but you have to be looking for it. The difference is darkness finds you, but with light, you have to find it. So if you're looking for opportunity, it can spark creativity and these other emotions, love and desire. You can cultivate these things with thankfulness. You can cultivate these things by noticing. You can notice, and what you notice begins to expand, and what begins to expand begins to take over parts of your life. Now, if you have been able to create your own recreation, there's something new you wanted, you've just been feeling it inside, and you're seeing it, and you're in love with what you're doing, because we do believe in creating work you love. Give it some structure. There has to be some structure, or else you're just going to immaturely chase after something. So these are two moments that create it. I'm just letting you know, a lot of us are called into action by something we want really bad, or something really bad happens to us. Those are moments of creation, both moments of creation. I don't want you to overlook that. So this happens. I'm going to take you into the game. And so we're just going to call this the reinvention, revival. I guess I've got reinvention in there twice. Reinvention, revival, and transformation game. This is how you can succeed in your next act. This is how you can bring the power of transformation to the next act. It says that if anyone is in Christ, they're a new creation. The old is gone and the new has come. They're a new creation. So we want you to actually have power that goes beyond the old. But to do that, the very first thing you want to do is we got to choose if this is a game, you're going to choose the piece. And so this works for all personality types. If you're the connector and you are driven by connecting with others and feeling, like whether it's leading, healing, being one with other people. If you're a connector, this works for you. If you're a visionary and you are a dreamer, maybe not so much a structure person, but you're a dreamer, this works for you. If you are a pioneer and you're always exploring new things, finding new ways, but you're not necessarily, right? Again, we're also maybe resistant to some of the rules that people put onto us. This is for you. If you are the person who doesn't mind conflict, you're the strategist, you're the person that creates structure, this is for you as well. And so any personality type is going to interplay a little bit differently with all of these pieces. We'll talk about a little bit of that as we go on. But let's go ahead and play the game. So I'm going to put you onto the board. And that's what we have to do, right? If you're going to do anything in life, we've got to start by starting. And the beginning of this, believe it or not, has to do with desire. Now, we looked at dark and light, and there are two different types of desire. But when we start, we may have to, I want you to sense, what is the feeling that you have, and what is the feeling that you want to feel? And whatever it is that you want in life, I'm going to tell you that you have the ingredients to make it. As a matter of fact, if we go to that next space, I want to tell you a brief story. America jumped into a war to really defend freedom. It was in the 1930s and 40s, and we end up in World War II, but we didn't really have much of the military equipment that everyone else had. But guess what we did have? We had car manufacturers. And within a very short time, they were able to turn those car manufacturers into facilities that could actually manufacture tanks and planes. As a matter of fact, some of the planes that they would use that would take over 200 days to manufacture before, they were doing one per hour at one point. And so they were able to take what they had and remix it and recreate it to match the needs of what were in front of them. And I share that with you because as we look at all of these things, you're going to be tempted to disengage, and that is the worst thing you can do. You're going to say, I don't have enough, I need more. And that's just not going to work. The goal is that we want to look and see, just like the folks in World War II, you have enough to do what you need to do. I will say this, sadly, some of you and some of us, and sometimes all of us, have been in a place to where we sadly never start. And the truth of it is, if we were to look at that, oopsie. If we were to look at that, there's nothing compelling enough to cause us to leap into the next place. And so what we end up doing is just perpetuating the same story that we've lived in one before. We keep winning the same small little league games, even though we should have outgrown them long ago. The goal is that we want to harness something that creates feeling. We want to take permission to step into the next level. And the next level is going to involve you doing something that looks more like love and play. Love and play, because love and play gives you a new possibility where you're not judging yourself. You're not worried about whether or not you look good doing it. If you've ever heard of the story of Jack Johnson, you would understand that it doesn't always look pretty when you win. Jack Johnson was the first African-American heavyweight boxing champion of the world. And in his day, he didn't really have a way to get there because he was allowed to box. He just wasn't allowed to practice. He wasn't allowed to spar with people. It was illegal for African Americans at the time to participate in that, even though they were allowed to box. If you look at what that was designed for, really, it's just set up so that they would lose. And so that's exactly what he did. He got into the ring over and over and over again saying, I'm enough, I've got this. I'm going to figure it out. And he would go from sparring with someone for 40 seconds to a minute and a half to getting to the second round until eventually he was beating people pretty handily. So, what can you do right now to engage love and play? Because if you don't have a desire, you don't pass go. Is there someone you want to rescue? Is there something you're willing to want? And the want has to be bigger than your obstacles. Now we move on from that, and we jump into the place of your gifts. And when people think about work and their gifts, a lot of times they think about singing or dancing or acting or numbers, and certainly these are legitimate things. These are what I would call talents. But talents or gifts, actually, they show up in multiple different ways. They show up in these 4 C's. And so it's what you create, what you contribute, what you're curious about, and how you connect. That's your gifts. What you create, how you contribute, your curiosity, and how you connect. So curiosity is a gift. There's some things that you're going to be better at, more curious at than other people. And that, because you have that, you're more driven to succeed. You're more driven to learn. And you will learn something 100 times faster than someone who has no interest. So curiosity is a gift. Sadly, most of us, we get to a certain age where we don't allow ourselves curiosity. What else? What else is there? Well, creation. What you create is your gift. You are applying your gift to something and you're making something. What are you creating? We're in the image of creator. Some of us create environment. Others create structures. Others create safety and stability. Others create buildings or businesses. Some people create woodwork. There are a billion things you could create. And it doesn't matter if, thousands of people have done it before. You can still do it uniquely as you. That is a gift. From that, you're actually going to contribute. Whatever you create, you contribute. And contribution means that you're giving something, you're taking responsibility, and you're moving something forward for someone else. Contribution is when you benefit others and probably yourself as a byproduct of applying your gifts, your creation to them. Your connection, the way that you connect with people is a gift. So the way you connect, maybe you want to be generous in the way in giving to other people. Maybe you are a healer. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you are an encourager. Maybe you're a listener. How you connect with people is also a gift. So all of these things, when you mix them all together, create a very unique blueprint that is you. So if you see yourself as someone who, I do this, that's great that you do something. I'm a realtor, or I'm a loan officer. I am a teacher. I'm a technician. That's what you do. But who you are is really seen in these gifts. It's how you connect. It's your curiosity. It's how you create, and it's your contribution. That, my friend, because those things can be remixed and applied in so many different ways. As a matter of fact, let's talk about the remix for just a moment. In the 1970s, an artist by the name of Dolly Parton sang this song. Dolly Parton says it from Whitney Houston's rendition of I Will Always Love You. She was able to basically buy Dollywood. This was more than a $10 million song just from the royalties of this song. And so when you look at what a remix can do, it can take something good and turn it into something amazing. And the deal is, my friend, you already have the ingredients. When we look at your gifts, your talents, and it's pointed towards your desire. Okay, when we look at that, we have something that can be a tremendous recreation. Now, what happens next? So we say, you know what? Okay, cool. Let's remix it. Well, the very first thing we want to do is we want to look at what if. And this is the land where you strategists probably don't really like. The strategists, the sage heroes and rulers, and also probably the connectors. Like, they may not, there are a variety of reasons to not like the what if of life, but you got to do it. It's the dream. It is the place where you're just saying, you know what? I'm not going to be fixated on what always has been. I'm going to look at the possibilities. What is possible? And that is the dream state. If you haven't figured out what's possible, if you're not excited about what's possible, if you don't have joy and hope, then you need to revisit the dream state. And I can tell you that my personality type, and this happens with me quite often, if I start to feel disengaged with my vision, I need to jump back into the dream, because once I see it and feel it again, that informs me on what to do. The action begins to flow. Couple of stories that are fun here is that there was a little known social media channel, you probably have never heard of it, called Tune In and Hook Up. Tune In and Hook Up was just these guys, nerds, trying to find some hot ladies. And what they ended up doing was creating a platform that shared video. And that video, even though it wasn't really good for them to tune in and hook up, nobody was using it for that. They were instead using it for cat videos and zoo videos and all kinds of things. They found that they actually didn't have a good dating app. What they had was a good way to share video. And today, millions of hours are uploaded almost every hour. This right here is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, does that look familiar to you? If you've never heard his story, it's very fascinating. He absolutely was created by Walt Disney. He was, in some ways, Mickey's big brother, Mickey Mouse's big brother. And what he was is a creation that Walt and his engineers had made, and they had a series of hit cartoons that were all over the nation. And when he went to go get permission to make more, Universal Pictures said, nope, can't make more. And you're fired, and we're taking all of your animators. So he returned back home to only his brother. All of his animators were gone, and he couldn't draw his famous character. He had nothing. Or did he? Of course he had something. Your creativity, your power, your gift is what you have, and nobody can take that away from you. He, of course, harnessed everything that he had to recreate something new. And today, we do not have Oswald World. We have lots of Disney Worlds with lots of Mickey Mouse stuff built on the mouse that came next. So just because you think it's your best creation, it might just have been your first creation. Try not to be too fixated on those things. So we go from what is possible now to what is probable, because here's the truth. We don't take action towards what's possible. We take action towards what's probable. So what's probable for you? Well, this is different for all of us, but we look at the gifts that we have and the ways that we can most likely succeed, and we start to create a strategy. We start to make a plan. We want to go from the plan to a decision. So the plan is a list of ways that we could strategically act, but ultimately we are going to decide. And it looks just like this picture where you cut away other options. And at least for a moment, for a time, for a committed time, you choose only one course of action. And I'm talking to you entrepreneurs, as well as you, if you're a visionary, you might not like to decide. Visionaries hate it because they think it limits them. Pioneers, sometimes they love it. Sometimes they hate it. It just depends. But this is that place where having a good strategist in your life can come in handy. Connectors, sometimes you're just indecisive. So this is like we all have to pull from our strengths and the strengths of the people around us. Let me grab one of these other pieces here. From the deciding comes the doing. It is you taking action. Now, if you're an entrepreneur especially, you can't do all of the actions. That's actually where we get it wrong is because we try to do too many things and we're effective in none of the things. Actually, when most people think about action, especially from those places of darkness, they take this giant, massive action, which is great, but it's not sustainable. So I love massive action, but actually the type of action that typically generates what you want it to looks more like you planting seeds. It is seeds that are going to bring that sustained fruit, that abundant place that you want. And as you're doing it, the hard part about seeds is you don't get to eat it tomorrow, right? It has everything it needs to grow, but you don't get to eat it tomorrow. And so I say that you need to create an awareness of what each of your actions mean. Hey, every time I do this, this is me doing that. Every time I pick up the phone, or every time I clean the dishes, this is me taking one step closer to being that joyful human, or me taking one step closer to owning the thing that I want to own. I'm not taking care of this little shack. I'm taking care of my future mansion. I'm not managing $1,000 a month. I'm managing my $1,000 a month, but I'm doing it like I'll be managing my $100,000 a month. We have to create and cultivate an awareness, what I call I am actions. Now, this is important because if you're just taking action by itself, it will have a result. But if you take action with faith, it makes something so much bigger, so much more is available to you. Faith and action create amazing results, even if you apply tiny bursts of activity. That's why I love even the idea of a seed. Seeds are these tiny things that have everything they need for the growth that is going to happen. And so what tiny action can you take? I have to share a story from my personal life because this shows you what faith actions not only look like, but the fact that they can be as ridiculous as this and still work is amazing. The year was 2016. We had just taken a trip as a family of 10 up to Michigan to go see snow. Our children had never seen snow. It was the best time of our life. We loved it. And we drove back asking ourselves, how can we do this more? We went through all kinds of scenarios. And what I ended up with was, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to start a podcast and I'm going to get rich and famous. And because I'm rich and famous from this podcast, we'll be able to be location independent. We can go wherever we want. We'll be able to travel the world. Well, that is a horrible idea. That is almost infantile in the logic that was there, but it still worked. What happened was I went back home, bought a $300 piece of podcasting equipment before I could decide no, and then I invited 10 people I knew who were the best at sales or best business owners I knew to actually be on the show before I could turn myself down. They showed up. They showed up on the podcast and it went on. It was the Sales Heroes podcast. And I never got rich or famous from the podcast. But what did happen was the first episode that I released, she was contacted by a coaching company. The coaching company, she connected them with me. And they offered me a job, a position in their company. And it wasn't too long after that we were able to become location independent based off of the type of work and the requirements of that work. We were able to travel, and we did for a little over 2 years. And that's a part of what this book is about, Sell Anywhere. So I want you to see that, not because, oh, this is great, it worked out great for me, but the fact is my action didn't make sense until it did. So what small action can you do towards what you want? Small but brilliant. Action that gets traction. What is it? And how can you narrate that with an awareness that you are doing what you say you believe and that your action and your faith are the same thing? You start to actually collect treasure. I can't even tell you all of the miracles that happened on that trip because of that. But the interesting thing is that as you near the end of your recreation journey, it's not about the treasure. The value isn't about what you found at the end, what you went after. The value is actually in who you became. I love this from Olympic champion Sha'Carri Richardson.
And I'm ready mentally, physically, and emotionally. Yeah. And I'm here to stay. I'm not back, I'm better. Now here comes Sha'Carri Richardson. Richardson is a national champion. 1084. The World Championships are waiting for Sha'Carri.
So that's the goal. That when we join this process, when we jump into this process, you can do something that isn't a redo of a previous story. It's better. It's not back, it's better. You're not back, you're better. You have access right now to some really cool opportunities to create transformation, reinvention, and revival. And so if you want to see some ways that you actually would be able to dig into that more and find out how to make work that you can feel, click on the next video.